Welcome back, guys. Another episode, Prado 150 out of here. Just in the shed at the moment, and I've decided to change my front brake pads. So I'll just say from the start, I'm not a qualified mechanic in any way. So let's say I don't know what I'm doing. I have had experience, obviously, working on the Prado and various other cars. I do feel confident doing certain parts of the brake. So changing brake pads, I feel confident that I can do that and do that safely. And I'm also not silly enough that if I do run into a drama, I'm happy to call a mobile mechanic to come out here to make sure the car's safe if I have any issues or dramas. And as you know, I've also got Dan from Dan's Automotive, and he's more than happy to give me a hand, offer me some advice. I've already done one side, because I'll be quite honest, I haven't done the front brakes before. I've done the back ones and I thought that they were the same. But in actual fact, the front ones are much easier and less things to take off than the back ones. So my car's a Prado 150 2015 model October build, so I don't know if they change much in the different models. So I've gone down to Auto Barn just in Toowoomba there and got myself some 4-drive Bendix brakes. You guys might have a different opinion. Let me know in the comments what brake pads that you use. But I've been reasonably happy with these at the moment. So these are my old ones that I pulled off from the passenger side. Okay, so I'll show you these in a bit more detail. So one's still got a bit of meat on it, but what I found was this other one it's getting rather low, and it also is it's got a few little scuff marks in the actual pad itself, and on the corners there they're starting to chip away. So I've just decided I'm going to replace them. So I mean, look at the difference between the new ones and the old ones. You know, there's just no comparison. So these are the new ones. And I'll show you how easy it is to change them over for the front ones anyway. Alright, so I'll go and take the tyre off and I'll get stuck into it. Alright, so I've got that, I've got my hammer, and I've just got a screwdriver. So, and I've got obviously my new ones are here, so I'm ready to put in. Alright, so guys, here we are. I got the wheel off. Look, just in summary, so what I'm doing is I'm taking this out, okay, that holds those in, and I'm taking this out. Okay, so that's probably the crux of it, okay, and then once they're out, which this is very easy to get out, I'll show you in a second. So take that out, take them out of these two here, okay, then these come out like so. Once they're out, you can take this little thing out there just to hold them in place so they don't rattle. Then I've got to push the cylinders back in, so we'll show you how to do that. And just make sure, because there's obviously that side and that side. I'll show you when they come out, but what I'll do is I'd lay them on the ground so I know that, you know, when that comes out, that was on the inside, and I'll put that there, and this one's on the outside, so I'll put that over there. Just to make sure I'm getting them back in the right place. And just judging by the look of this, yeah, if you have a look at this rotor, I think the next time I change my pads, I might as well do the bearings and do a new rotor, hey, I think. Yeah, so that'll be on the next one. So that one there. Just there. So you push him in, pretty much, and he pulls out, and then you just pull that out like so. And yeah, there you go. So that's out. So make sure you put him in a safe, pretty safe place. So I like to put that over here. And then these are ready to come out, these little things here. So they just give them a bit of a... The other side was quite easy, they pretty much just pulled out. Now ideally, which I don't have, the best thing would be to spray this with some brake cleaner, but I don't have that, so this is how they're going to be coming out. Just a bit tighter than the other side. So there we go. So that one's out, down there. That one's out, over there. And then this little clip comes out. It's pretty, you know, you just kind of pull it out. Just remember how it goes. So if you can see that, so that's how it goes. So make sure when you put it back, it goes in like that. If you're mechanically minded, you'll probably be able to work that out when you go to put it back. But I'm going to put it up like that safely, so I know what I'm doing. So they're both out. Just nice and slowly. And the other side. And of course, don't forget when you're doing all this, just inspect it. Make sure there's nothing that looks a bit, I don't know, you know, like a bit odd. And if you're not sure about something, or if something doesn't quite look right, then what you do is you know, obviously contact your mechanic and get them to have a look at it or check it out. If you do get stuck while you're doing it or something's not right, don't forget, have a mobile mechanic, you know, on standby that you can contact if you need to. So this is the outside one. It's not too bad this side, but you can see some scrape marks and bits and pieces, so I'd say that's to do with the rotor. When you pull it out, I mean, these are pretty much brand new, eh? Not brand new, but I wouldn't say they're brand new, but they would be halfway worn. So, you know, when you look at that and go, well, that's well and truly not wearing as much as this other side, because the other side is pretty much, you know, getting down to nothing, you would say, look, there could be an issue there. So I'm going to put these, you know, put them back on, because I've got some other work I've got to do to the car and see Dan about. So, which is the sump plug. That's another video. When I was turning it up on the last oil change, it just kept turning. It got tight and then kept turning. So somewhere along the line, it's been, you know, cross-threaded or stripped. So anyway, that's another job. But when yeah, when this is in with Dan, it may be the next time I do pads, we're going to do the whole thing here. We're going to take the rotor off, which means that the calipers would have come off, which means that the calipers coming off means that I can go in there and have a look at some of these mechanisms that push the, you know, push the cylinders in from the other side and make sure they're all operating correctly and that. So, all right. So, like I said before, just when you just have a look and see if everything's okay. So I've just given it a bit of a dust off with the well, I've just found a toothbrush. So I've just done that. Give it all a bit of a, you know, bit of a wipe out, or brush out. Now, I've just had a bit of an inspection. As I said, I'm no professional, but just from my eyes, so you can just see some of the ring, or the, you know, the, I don't know what they're called, but the ring around the cylinder where it goes in and out, it's just looking a little bit, you know, how you going, like a bit frayed, or, you know, it's not looking the best. So I'll keep that as a mental note, and you know, I'll start looking at what they cost, you know, to have them sorted out, possibly new ones. Obviously your brakes, they're very important. So you can't scrimp on them, and you can't, you know, not know how, I suppose, how they're going when you're doing your own stuff. So you know, when Dan's got the car, he's going to be doing the bottom of that sump for me. So when he's got it, if I'm there with him, I might just whack off the wheels for him to have a bit of a look and get a more professional opinion. As I said, what did I say? The inside is the back and the outside was at the front. So they're two different pads. You've got to make sure you get the right ones in the right place, all right? Otherwise they won't fit. And silly me, you've just got grass there from where I left them. So you definitely don't want grass on your pads. You want it as perfectly clean as you can. So all I'm going to do to make sure I've got the right ones is this one's got no little metal part on it. You know, I think that's the one that tells you that your pads are about to run out, which I think that's possibly what I heard on the other ones, because I did hear a bit of a noise, a telltale sign. Anyway, so this one here doesn't have that, so this one goes there on the back. Make sure I've already done the other side obviously, but what you got to do is just make sure that everything's all matching up. Now I've told you a furphy there, because it's so dirty I haven't noticed. This actually has got that on there, so that's going to be the inside one, and I will get the one that's correct, and just get a bit of grass off that. Okay, so we need the one that's got this there, okay, and that's going to go on the inside one. So I'm just checking for size, make sure that everything's all good and it's going to go in correctly. So it is, and look, I did that on the other side, so I'm pretty happy that they are the correct pads for the job. And that's just going to go in there. Now it should just go in easy. If it doesn't go in easy, that means that you haven't pushed out those cylinders enough. Now when you're putting them in, don't forget there's a hole there and a hole there, so you've got to line that up so you can get that pin back in, obviously from that side. So it goes in there and ends up here. So you've got to, you know, they'll line up. You'll get the picture when you put it together. You know, you have to line them up. Whatever you do, make sure you put these pads so that side there obviously goes onto the rotor. Look, I don't know why you wouldn't do that, but I've heard stories where people have put them on the wrong way, or the other way. I don't even know if they can go that way or not. But anyway, pads, the brake pad side of it goes onto the rotor side, because that's what's going to stop your car from, stop your car. So that just goes in there. So yeah, again, I'll just repeat myself, but if it's a bit hard to get into, all that means is you haven't pushed those cylinders back enough. So the easiest way is just to pop the top ones in. So that's lined up okay. And that one just goes in. So that'll hold it in place while you're mucking around with that bottom one. Yeah, hopefully that is correct. So yeah, you just jiggle it around, it'll go through. There's two little holes at the, well, there's a little, I don't know what you call it, but remember that clip that I took out? So that's going to go in there. So at some point you have to turn him around, so I just leave him out just a touch so you can, turn him around. It's not really that difficult. Alright, so the new pads are in, which is all good. Now, you mustn't forget this. I'm just working out how I'm going to show you how to do it. It's obviously the same way you pulled it out. It's funny, I've got to take my glasses off to do it, so I can see what I'm doing. So, these go in up here, so the next hole that you can see going that way is where that goes, and this has to basically slip in there, and the same with this side, so that slips in there like so. Alright, so I've done it. Can you see that? Sorry if I'm in the way of the light. So that's gone into those little holes there. Okay, this has to go there like that, so that sits under there. And then when we put that in, that holds that in place. So we put the pin through. These have to be down there like so. Now, I make it look easy, but I learnt from the other side when I did the other side. I had a bit. Pin goes back in there, and we just make sure it all lines up okay. Yep, so that one's in. Now, sometimes this is going in, so that's going in fine. And then, yeah, There's a hammer there if you need it, but you don't need it. You don't really need it when you saw how easy that was. So that's in. So the only job that's left now is to put this other thing back in, and which is a piece of cake. So I'm going to pinch some of the light. So all I'm doing here is lining up those little holes that are here. Which I can't see because of the light. Just going to get this one inside. Once it's in, it just kind of turns around to its, you know, what it's supposed to do. Let's just get that in first. Alright, so that's in. Push him down. In. So it's a bit fiddly. Sorry if you couldn't see what I was doing. But yeah, that's in. So that's ready to go. Just double check everything. Obviously when you put your just make sure that all moves nicely. When I say moves nicely, it's because the cylinders are pushed out. So when you get in your car, I mean obviously with the Prado you've got to put the brake on anyway to you know, to start it. So just, you know, just put the brake down a couple of times, which means that, you know, these will sort themselves out and get a bit closer there to the rotor. And just make sure you feel comfortable with you know, when you with the brake pedal. It might go down a bit first off because, and again, I don't have any technical words for it. It's just my experience, what I know, very limited. But when you're pushing your foot down, and it goes down a bit further than you would normally push it down, that's because you're moving the cylinders in further. And once you've lifted the foot up, it readjusts everything, you know, everything goes to where it should be, and you'll find when you go to push your pedal down again, it will be in the right spot. That's if you've done everything correctly. So those brake pads are in. I've just pushed the brake pedal, and yep, she's first maybe one or two pushes, it went down to not quite the floor, but it went down a bit, and then after a couple of pushes on the brake pedal, she's come back up, and I'm happy with that. So when I start the car, obviously things will, you know, get going properly. Now I suppose I'm just going to have a bit of a look at the these brake pads. Again, I'll take my glasses off. So there is one that's considerably worn a bit more than the other. And there's a few like scuff marks on them. So yeah, it's certainly something to keep an eye on. And yeah, in that case, I will probably have a chat to Dan about that and just go, hey, what do you reckon, mate? So something really unfortunate has happened. Yeah, it's just an unfortunate thing that can happen to any car, any motor. So I've done my oil change. and which is fine, all that's gone all right. I could never do an oil change without getting a few scratches and marks all over myself, particularly pulling out that oil filter. But anyway, I've gone to tighten up it's leaking already. I've gone to tighten up the sump plug, and I was tightening it as I've done every other time that I do, and all of a sudden it got loose. So I went, so that's not too good. So, anyway, I filled the oil up. I thought I might have got it tight enough, and I have it. So she's weeping out of the sump plug. So the sump, something's happened with the thread on it. So it's been, well, I'm usually really careful, and that's why I like to do my own car, but it's been cross-threaded or done up too tight somewhere at some point. Then we'll go down to Autobarn and buy some Stag, it's called. This is on the recommendation from Dan, from Dan's Automotive. Seal it up, and that should be good for another, another 5,000 or 6,000 Ks until the oil's due to be changed again. And then, well, it's a new sump. So, 4 steps back sometimes it feels like. So I'm really, really disappointed in that, and I don't know. I'm disappointed in myself, I suppose, that's happened, because I usually take a bit of pride in doing the car, and I've had a few, and that's why I do it, because I've had a few problems, particularly with that oil filter, where another mechanic that I don't use now, I had all sorts of dramas with the oil filter being done up too tight. And well guys, just over to Autobarn now, see if they got some of that Stag stuff. See how we go, eh? Come see your mate Ashley at Autobarn at Toowoomba, and I've told him the story. He's having a laugh, but he's having a cry. I think we're all having a cry, aren't we?
Look, it's normally me this happens to, mate, so I'm really crying on the inside for you, trust me.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So he's going to find me some Stag, and see how we go for another 5,000 Ks at least.
Sounds good to me.
So how easy is it to put in? I've been told I've got to get rid of all the oil as much as I can, so it's dripping out at the moment.
Yeah, so get your rag, clean it up with your carby cleaner, degrees, whatever it may be, get right in the thread, and then obviously load it up on your thread. It's like a removable thread sealer, so we normally use this on things like your tape and fuel fittings and everything like that.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, what you want to do, clean up all your residue, get all the other rubbish out of there, load it up with this by the sounds of it, because it's probably not going to be used again after this one, and tighten it up in there.
Okay. And then I think set it overnight, isn't it? Is that the deal?
Normally, you'll see people normally use it a couple of hours later. With any of these sealants and that, I like to leave them sitting normally as long as I can. So in this weather, probably 24 hours would be advisable.
Yeah, okay. And that's no oil in there either, is it?
Yep. Let it go off before any of your other fluids get to it and mix with it, and then you'll be hopefully laughing for another 5,000 before you start crying again.
Well, I'm going to Toyota after seeing you, just to see if they can help me out a bit.
It's going to be smiles.
I'll tell them my sorry, sad story and see if they'll...
Smiles all around this afternoon for you.
Far out.
Yeah.
All right, no worries. So that's the good stuff there, is it?
That's it.
All right, we'll see how we go. Thanks, mate. Well, guys, I'm just off to see Toyota. See what they're going to charge me for a new sump. Yeah, just to get a bit of a price, eh? Hopefully they'll help me out and feel sorry for me. I'm here at Toyota, and this nice young fella, he's going to help me out with a price on the sump. Bit of a sad day when it's clean. So we'll see what you can do, eh? Well, there you go. There's some good news from some bad news, eh? So the sump plug, or the sump, sorry, for that Prado, comes in 2 pieces. So the bit where the sump plug is that little piece on the bottom. So yeah, 95 bucks I think he said he'd do it for. So and then I just rang Dan just to double check, and he goes, oh yeah, that's right, they do come in 2 pieces. So he said
taking that part off is pretty easy. Otherwise, the sump, he was talking about having to take the front diff out and bits and pieces. Yeah, so whew, I got out of that one, hey. So yeah, that'll arrive next week. So and then I'll get it sorted. I'll see how that stag stuff goes. Keep me out of trouble for a few weeks. See how we go. Well, she's nice and clean. I've got a new washer, so I've just popped that one on. And I'll read the instructions on how to do this bit, eh? I'd say that's enough, probably too much, but anyway, we'll see how we go. We'll find the lid. Wish me luck. So yeah, I couldn't do it up very tight, so I've left it like that. Look, all I'm going to have to do is wait for it to set and put the oil back in tomorrow and see if it seeps out, and then run it, you know, hot, and see if it seeps out then. See how we go. Look, I'm probably not keen to get too much out of this. Certainly not any big highway drives or anything like that. It'll just see us through until you know, so we can still use the car hopefully until we get the new part here. Today I'll let that nut or the sump plug set up in there, and so I'll let it set overnight with no oil in it. And today, because it's been a bit wet, I just gave it a bit longer just to make sure that sump set in it. So I've poured a small amount of oil in there in case it was leaking, so I didn't lose all the oil. So I put some oil in there, so probably about a quarter of what would you put in the sump. You know, gone inside, given it a good hour and a half, and I've come back out, and I'll just show you. It's not leaking. Yeah, there's a sump plug, obviously, and this bit of red kind of stuff around there, that's the stag. She's all set in place, and yeah, there's nothing leaking out of there, so as happy as I can be, I'm happy with that. I don't know, what do you reckon? Reckon I'm celebrating too early? It's like magic, isn't it? Look at that. Perfect. Nothing's leaking there. It's a good seal. So guys, just been on a bit of a drive, taking kids to school and all that kind of stuff. And ducked into the shops and obviously warmed the car up, so I'm just going to check, see if there's any oil leaks on the ground. Unfortunately there is one under the ground there, a little bit of an oil drip. I'm not climbing under, I've got my good clothes on to see how much is coming out, but yes, the old sump plug didn't work as well as I was hoping, so just going down to Toyota now to pick up that bottom section of the sump. So off the bottom of the sump. Woohoo! Lesson learned. Well, that concludes another episode of Prado 150 out of here. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I gave you some good information and what not to do with your sump plug.